Hello, everybody. Trucker Joe back with another one. Today's video, we're going to be looking at black-eyed kids. And if you ain't done so already, hit that follow button because it helps the channel grow. If you don't care, watch the video all the way to the end because that also helps the channel grow. So let's get into it.
I don't really know what it means, but I'm kind of concerned that in the last 3 to 5 years, there's been an increase of people saying they have seen and encountered black-eyed children, which is really creepy if you know the lore behind them. But if you don't, that's what I'm here to tell you today. So the first documented or well-known case of black-eyed children was in 1996. Now, it wasn't necessarily the first instance of it. Things like these go back years and years and years. But this was basically when the term black-eyed children, or BEK, was coined. A journalist in Texas, had a run-in with them and posted online if anybody else had seen them. See, he was at a movie theater late at night and he got into his car, and then two young boys, probably no more than 12, approached him. He says that as soon as he spotted them outside of his driver's side window in his car, he knew that they were not normal children and that he was in danger. I mean, for instance, the thing that tipped him off was that they had completely black eyes and their skin was like pale as a ghost. But they still walked up to his car and he still felt like he was frozen in place. So when they get to his car, they rap on his window. He rolls it down and they say, "Can you give us a ride or let us call our parents? Can you wait with us?" He did not want to do that. The reporter said that as soon as he made eye contact with these children's pitch black eyes, he knew that not only were they not normal, but there was something just sinister that they were planning. And while he really did not want to do that, everything inside of his mind was screaming, "I cannot help these kids, I will be in danger." Without his own will, his hands started to move as if he was going to open his driver's side door. By some miracle, he regained the ability to just move his body the way he wanted to, and as soon as he could, he backed his car up and sped away. And when he looked back in his rearview mirror, the children were just gone. So, lucky for him, he survived that encounter, but a lot of people have had even closer encounters with them, and they've been even weirder situations. Stay tuned because I have a few videos coming up of other encounters with these children. But I want to know, what do you think they are, and have you ever seen them?
What would you do in that situation? It'd be hard to resist children, especially if you're a father. But as soon as I seen them eyes, plus, your guts gotta be screaming at you on something like that. Yeah, let's continue.
If you're looking for something absolutely terrifying to check out, keep watching, but pray these things never come looking for you. One of the most terrifying demonic manifestations in existence is that of when they appear as children. In this case, specifically the black-eyed children. I've said it many times, there are no ghosts, especially children ghosts. There are things out there that are going around pretending to be children with dark eyes, very unnatural eyes. The creepy thing is, they always come asking for permission. They ask to get into your home, into your car, and ultimately into your life. I'm going to show you a picture of one. And these things you'll know if you encounter because they almost sound robotic, and you can tell in their eyes. They're dark, evil eyes.
If you see some children with some pitch black eyes, please go the other way. Now let's talk about it. Now I've done a video on the black-eyed children and black-eyed people, but someone just sent me a story telling me they thought they had an encounter with one a few weeks ago, and I just had to talk about this again because this stuff is real and it's so scary. Now the black-eyed children or the black-eyed kids, whatever you want to call them, is an urban legend of paranormal creatures that resemble children ranging from the age of 6 to 16. And they usually have pale skin and pitch black eyes, and they're reportedly seen hitchhiking, panhandling, or at the doorsteps of residents' homes. So what they'll do is they'll pretend like they're lost and be like, "Hey, can I call my mommy or daddy?" or something like that to get you, because I mean, it's a kid and you're just going to like assume that they need help because they're a kid alone. And most of the time, they'll come walking up to your car when it's dark at night and you really can't like see their eyes. And they're typically wearing outdated clothes. That's another way to spot these creatures. They're typically wearing outdated clothes. And you might see them approaching your car when you're waiting at the gas station or something like that. Like, they are so creepy, y'all. Now, some conspiracy theorists highly believe that these creatures are actual aliens that came down to Earth. And demonologists believe that they're children of the devil himself. And if you let them in, it's the end for you. Everything after that will just be horrible. But the thing that make this stuff so creepy is there's been like several cases all over the world with similar stories of these.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed about these black-eyed kids and stuff. And, just in paranormal in general, that demonic entities always want to use children because children are, supposed to be, non-threatening, and, everybody wants to help a child. So, that's the thing I've always noticed.
Black-eyed children or these black-eyed people, and then them coming to their homes, like same stories with people with no connection or ties with each other. So it has to be some type of truth to this. And people that have actually made eye contact with them say that it's way more sinister. Like, it is extremely creepy, and how things just go so wrong after they encounter with these children. But like I said, they'll try to come into your home on a late, cold night, or they'll approach you while you're at the stoplight or anywhere, and they'll typically try to have their head down. So of course, you can't see their eyes, because if you see their eyes, you're probably gonna get scared and drive off. But yeah, please don't go near these people. 9 times out of 10, and you're not gonna see it outdated, wearing, I'm talking about looking like pilgrims walking around at night in the cold, asking can you use their phone, or can you call their parents, or coming to your house. But let me know what y'all think, or if y'all ever encounter or heard stories of people talking about these black-eyed children. Because like I said, a follower requested me to talk about this because they thought they encountered one in Texas not too long ago. And most stories I hear about is around the Texas area. So what is that about? But let me know what y'all think about this.
That woman filmed one of the black-eyed children.
No sound off, Texas. Does it seem like there's more reports in Texas than anywhere else? Let me know in the comments.
Bestie, do you believe in the paranormal? Imagine encountering something that doesn't seem human. Nobody really knows what these things are. From my research, people are calling these things aliens, demons, or just lost spirits. They're said to be pale with dead black eyes, and they show up at your doorsteps late at night or just be wandering in the woods. BTW, if these things ever show up at your doorstep, be sure not to let them in. There was a girl named Lucy who lived in the countryside with her family. One day, Lucy's family went out and she was home alone. A group of children started knocking the door, telling her to let them in. She noticed the kids had pale black eyes, so she definitely did not let them in. By the time she went to call the police, they were gone. Until this day, nobody actually knew what happened to those kids. If you guys want to see me do this on live stream tonight, then heart this video and follow my account.
There's been a lot of creepy stuff that has been happening in Texas over the past couple of years. There was this woman named Deborah. Deborah was from a place just north of San Antonio, and she lived with her husband and daughter. Well, one night she was coming home late from the store, and she pulls into her driveway. She gets out of her car.
There's that reference to Texas again. Is that, So, like I said, let me know in the comments if y'all from Texas, you heard about this a lot more than anywhere else.
And she starts unloading groceries out of the trunk. All of a sudden, she starts to hear a rustling sound behind her. And out of these woods that were across the street from her house, she sees 3 children walk out. They are dressed in all black, and they look sort of out of place. They proceed to walk up to her, and they have sort of this soft-spoken voice. Ma'am, can we play with your daughter? Can we come inside and hang out with your daughter? And she's like, who are you? Where did you come from? They don't say anything. She goes, look, my daughter is asleep, and it's late at night. What are you guys doing out? Where are your parents? They don't respond to that. They just keep asking her, can we come inside and play with your daughter? So she's like, look, no, you cannot. I don't know who you are. It's late at night. You need to go back home. But they kept on taunting her, saying, let us play with your daughter. And as she kept telling them no, they became more and more aggressive. So they started to yell insults and they started cussing her out. And she runs inside and gets her husband. Her husband comes out there thinking, like, who are these kids? When he gets outside, there's no one out there. So he comes in and he tells his wife, like, are you sure you've seen kids out there? Because it's just completely quiet. There's no one out there. But she's insistent that these kids were harassing her, asking to play with their daughter. So after a few weeks, she kind of forgets about all this. And she's at home one day. Her daughter's in the bedroom. And she overhears her daughter, like, laughing and giggling like she's hanging out with someone in her bedroom. But she knows that it's just her and her daughter. So she calls for her daughter. And when her daughter comes to the living room, she asks, hey, like, what's going on in your room? Like, is there someone here? Like, why are you laughing and like giggling like you're playing with someone? And she goes, oh, mommy, like, my new friends, I invited them in and they came into my room and we're playing. She goes, what new friends? And she goes, I met them. They came from the woods across the street. And so instantly the mom's like, stay here. She runs to the bedroom. And when she opens the door, there's no one there. She goes back to her daughter and says, who are these kids? Like, where did they go? She goes, Mom, I don't know. They were in my room. She goes, I've been playing with them for the past couple of weeks. And so the mom is just like floored. Like, did she invite these kids that I seen outside in the house? So she tells her daughter, you are not to hang out with them anymore until I talk to their parents and figure out like what's going on and talk to them about how they were harassing me. So the daughter agrees and she goes back to her bedroom. And so she leaves her house and she goes around to some of the neighbors and she starts asking them, like, do you know anything about these kids? And none of the neighbors know who these people are. And so she comes back to her house. And when she gets back to her house, it's now dark. She sees her daughter next to the woods across the street. So she immediately runs over to her. What are you doing? Like, why are you out of the house? She goes, oh, mommy, I'm going to play with the kids that were in my room. They told me to come in the woods. And so she tells her, no, you get in the house now. So she brings her in the house. And over the next couple of weeks, she keeps, hearing about these imaginary friends that she can't see that this girl's playing with, but she never like sees them again. And then one day they were driving and they were in this terrible accident and the daughter got hurt really bad. So did the mother. And Deborah attributed that to this encounter she had with these strange children. This story takes place in Peoria, Illinois. Now, just outside of town, there was this husband and wife who were driving late one night, headed to work. And they happened to be going down this road that was just nothing but cornfields.
Yeah, that's the thing I've always heard about them. That when you do let them in, because stuff like that has to be invited in, and when you do let them in, bad things start happening. Uh, that's what I've always been told. Anyway, what do y'all think?
And sort of forest off in the distance. It was slightly snowing and it was a really cold night. As they're making their way down this road, they begin to experience car trouble. So he veers off onto the shoulder and eventually the car gives out. He gets out of the car, he pops the hood, and he goes around and starts seeing if he could figure out what was going on. As he's working on the car, he said he got this just eerie feeling and his body just started to get the chills. And that's when he turned, and standing there were three teenagers. They were wearing these black hoodies with the hoods up, and he said he could barely see their face. He said the one in the front says, could you give us a ride? And he's like, obviously I can't give you a ride. My car's broke down. He said, go and try and start it. And he's like, okay. And he said the ones in the back, they were kind of like, go.
That's also a common denominator that I've heard about having the hoodies pulled all the way up, having them scrunched up where you can just barely see their face.
Chanting, kind of almost like telling him to go into the car. So he was a little freaked out. And he's like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a try. So he goes back in the car, he gets in, turns the key in the ignition, boom, the car starts right up. And right as the car started up, he turns to the driver's side window, and there are these three teenagers. And he said the one was just kind of up against the window. And he rolls down his window and was like, hey, thanks, that worked. But look, I got my wife with me. It's the middle of the night. I don't know who you guys are. Like, I got my phone here. I'll call someone for you, but I can't give you a ride. I don't feel comfortable with that. They're like, no, you have to give us a ride. And he's like, no, I told you I'm not giving you a ride. And he said, just give us a ride. we can't come in unless you invite us. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I'm not inviting you. And he said that's when they're like, I don't think you understand. And they got a little closer to the window, and that's when he could see they had these solid, dark, black eyes. And he could tell this wasn't an actual teenager, like this was something else. And he rolls up his window, and he starts panicking, like, what do we do? What do we do? These kids start getting angry, banging on the window, shaking the car, screaming. And this couple is just completely terrified. Thankfully, a car happens to come down the road and stop right next to him. At this point in time, these three teenagers.
What do? You hit the gas. Take the hell off. Don't stick around. Lord have mercy. These people are just, I'm white, but I'm not that white.
Are gone. This guy gets out of the truck and was like, hey, are you all right? Did you break down? He's like, yeah, car broke down, but it started now. But there are these three teenagers out here, and they're like harassing me. So they start looking around, and in all directions, you could just see, because it was cornfields. They were nowhere to be found. And this guy ended up following him all the way back into town. And he said for several weeks, he just kept having dreams about those eyes, which reminded him so much of like a rabbit's eye. We've seen this recent uptick of black-eyed children sightings in the past couple of years. And even though this is supposed to be an urban legend, there have been thousands of reports of people having these encounters with these people who appear to have these very large black eyes. Now, this story takes place on the Appalachian Trail in New York. And there was this guy named Michael. Michael said that him and his friend were hiking a portion of the Appalachian Trail in New York. And he said they had hiked probably at this point 6 miles. And he said they started to go up this hill, and it was a pretty steep incline. And he said as they got halfway up to this top of this hill, he said they noticed these two people walking up ahead. He said they kind of were walking very funny, very erratically, almost robotic-like. He said eventually they made their way to these people. And he said he noticed there was a man, looked very young, probably 18, 19. And he said there was a girl behind him that seemed very young. And she said they both had on these white outfits, white shirts, white pants. The girl had on this white baseball cap. She had this brown, dark hair, like this sort of pale white, long face. And he said, as they walked past them, he began to get like a really bad vibe from them. He said the guy stopped right in front of him, and the girl, she kind of stopped behind him like she was hiding. And he said this guy then spoke in this very robotic-like voice. Can you help us? We are lost. Can you show us the trail? And he's like, well, if you just continue down this trail, it'll lead you right to the road. Like it's not that hard. I said, no, can you come with us? And he's like, oh, I don't need to come with you. All you got to do, you go down this trail about a mile and it'll take you right to the road. Like you don't need me to show you where to go. And he said over and over again, this guy insisted with,
Oh, no. Yep. Can't come with you. No way. No how. That's the way to lead you to your death.
him, take us, show us, take us to the trail. And he told him, I don't know you guys, like I'm not going with you, like we're hiking, we're going to continue to go this way, but if you go down that way, mile down, you'll find the road. So that's when the girl kind of peeked out a little bit. And as he looks at her, he notices she has these solid, large black eyes. They weren't human. And he said she kind of ducked back behind this guy. And once this guy noticed that Michael and his friend had seen the girl and noticed that she had these black eyes. Said the guy became very nervous and said, "We have to go. We have to leave." And they both took off very fast in the same direction from which they came. So Michael's friend says to him, "Hey, you should have got a picture of that." He's like, "Well, maybe I still can." He's like, "Why don't you go up to him and ask, hey, can I take a picture of you? Because I'm sort of documenting my journey on the Appalachian Trail." So Michael runs up to him and tries to catch up to him. But he runs as fast as he can, and he doesn't see them anywhere on the trail. It's as if they just disappeared, and they are nowhere to be found. And he said that's when he started to get this really bad feeling, like they encountered something that wasn't human. So what do you think they encountered on that trail?
If a child showed up in the middle of the night,
That's when you started getting a bad feeling? After they disappeared? Evidently your instinct meter is broken, sir.
knock on your door, would you answer it? You may not want to because it could destroy your life. Tonight's true scary story really freaked me out because anything to do with the kids or old people in the paranormal is my two bugaboos. If you're new here, hi, I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Kaisa and I tell true scary stories that you guys submit to me through email on here every single night. So if you want to submit me a story, my email is in my bio. It's kaisaspooky@gmail.com. Also, my YT link is in my bio where I tell scarier stories and longer versions of stories. Okay, let's get started. We're going to call today's submitter Jessie, and 6 years ago, Jessie lived in Kentucky for a little bit. Her partner was working nights and she was working days, so they never saw each other, and she was already convinced that her one-bedroom apartment was haunted. Her apartment would not be the scariest thing that happened to her there. Because she felt like the apartment was haunted, she spent a lot of time outside talking to her neighbors and walking her dog. But as I said, her partner worked nights, so she was always home alone, and her dog was always growling at the front door, and this really freaked her out. She figured, though, that the dog was just sensing other people talking because there was an apartment right next to theirs with neighbors. One night, it was around 12 or 1 a.m. in the morning, and she was watching TV, but then this started to happen. The dog was growling at the door, and she whispered for her to stop, and she did stop, but she laid down next to the door and just stared at it. I'm sorry, but this alone would freak me out because dogs know more than humans do, and they sense stuff, and so I would be like, no, ma'am. About 10 to 15 minutes later, someone knocks on the door after her dog has been sitting by the door this entire time. Now, mind you, no one has ever knocked on her door before the entire time that she lived in the apartment. She looks out the door through the peephole, and she sees this 11 or 12-year-old kid with a hoodie on. Before she could do or say anything, the kid says,
"Ma'am, could I come inside and show you the products I'm advertising?"
And then alarm bells start going off for about a million different reasons. Number one, how did he know that she was by the door? She was incredibly quiet. Number two, what was he doing out at 1 a.m. in the morning by himself? And number three, how did he know that she was a ma'am? She figured that the kid had backup and she was being set up. He was wearing a hoodie and she could not see his face at all. So she just stays silent, but he knocks several more times, repeating the same phrase.
"Ma'am, can I come inside and show you the products?"
Yep. There ain't gonna be no salesman come to my house at no 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna let 'em in. That's for sure. Products you're selling, my ass.
I'm advertising.
Over and over again. He was really trying to get her to open the door, but when she wouldn't do it, after a little bit, he finally gave up and he walked across to the neighbor's house, which was about 10 to 15 feet away from hers. There's only a small sidewalk that ran between the two buildings from her and her neighbor's house. So when he walked over there, he just knocked once and she actually opened the door. He didn't even say anything. As soon as she opens the door, immediately she screams bloody murder for her husband and slams the door in the kid's face. The next morning, that neighbor came over to Jessie's house and said, "Did a kid come to your door last night and knock on it?" And Jessie says, "Yes, I didn't answer. And then I saw him go over to your house and I saw that you answered the door. Like, what's up?" And the woman goes, when I opened that door, his eyes were completely black. She didn't know or understand back then, but she does now. Because a month after this happened, this woman went through hell. She went through a horrific divorce where she lost everything. She lost her property that was elsewhere. She lost all of her money and she lost a car. She doesn't know if she ended up getting sick too, but she does know that she lost like everything. She lost a lot. Jessie is so thankful that she didn't open that door that night because she looks back on it and she was newly pregnant. She didn't know anything about black-eyed.
See? That's what I'm saying. You have an encounter with them. You like everything that I've been told and everything I've seen and read. Your life turns to shit pretty much after you have an encounter with them.
and she was only 2 hours away from Appalachia. She would often visit Appalachia because she had family there. She ended up moving to Vegas shortly after this, and nothing like this ever happened to her ever again. But she does have more stories, something that is going on with her right now that she said she's going to send in. Apparently she's going through some type of haunting right now, and I think I want to hear it.
As an experiment, he set up his laptop camera to record overnight while continuously playing this low-frequency tone, in hopes that he would actually lure a black-eyed child to his door and catch the incident on camera. On the first night, his laptop camera recorded nothing. On the second night, something activated his motion-sensitive outdoor light. But again, there was nothing on camera. Night 3, nothing. Night 4, still nothing appeared. But then, very late on night 5, something shocking happened. Someone appears on the front porch, standing and staring inside the house for over an hour.
Look at that. That is crazy. How long was it out? Man, it was like an hour. It was out there for
over an hour. Lord have mercy. You just never know what's outside, lurking outside your door while you're asleep deep.
As the strange visitor left, the investigator claims that he was awoken by the sound of movement outside and got up to check.
Hello? Hello?
There was no one there, but the gate to the house had been left open. Eerily enough, the man lives in a secluded area, only accessible via a long unpaved road through the woods, so any visitor at any time would be uncommon. But he says that this visitor was absolutely terrifying.
Was this a black-eyed kid in Mexico, or is it something completely different? This guy says the story he's about to share is a story that he's heard his grandfather share with a lot of people throughout the years. He explains how the story has never changed, it's always remained the same, so he definitely believes what his grandfather said. When his grandfather was little, they lived in a ranch basically far away from the city. This was a large family, so the grandfather was the youngest out of a lot of siblings, and mom and dad, of course. Being that the family was huge and the grandfather wouldn't get a lot of attention, he would end up doing really bad things to his siblings, including the mom. He would prank them, he would just do things that weren't even funny, so he was always getting into trouble. He got into so much trouble that they started punishing him by making him take the goats up to the mountain so that they can go and eat. Side note, this is exactly how they would punish my stepdad too. And I've been to like those mountain places. They're fucking scary. I almost died because I fell and I kept rolling down the fucking hill. I don't know how I held onto a branch and didn't fall off that damn cliff. But anyway, this is not my story. The grandfather really hated that punishment, so the entire way up the mountain he would be cussing, he would be doing like really bad things, including like kicking the goats because he didn't want to do it. So he says that in one of these days where he got punished and he had to go and take the goats up to the mountains, he came up the mountain and onto this clearing. There, he saw this really big rock and decided that he was gonna sit on it just to get some rest. So he'd been sitting on that rock for a while, and then out of nowhere, the goats started acting strange. They were running, they were acting out. It was almost as if they were scared or in like defensive mode. That was also the moment where he felt almost as if something or someone was watching him. He also says that he would hear like leaves ruffling, almost as if somebody was there. He thought that maybe it was an animal, like a coyote or something, but that was also the moment where he heard someone calling his name. He was looking around and didn't see anything, and it was only until he saw this really big bush that had some nopales around it where he saw a little boy who was around 5 or 6 years old. So he saw the little boy and started walking towards him, and when he got a little closer, he noticed that the little boy was naked, and that's when he started to worry because he's like, oh my gosh, is something wrong? What if this little boy got lost up here in the mountain? So he decided he was gonna walk towards the boy a little bit more, but then he stopped altogether, and that was because of what he saw. He saw that that little boy's eyes were completely black. There was no white in them. Meanwhile, the goats had not calmed down. They were still running, being scared, and then ended up behind the grandfather. Like, they just stood behind him. And the grandfather, he just stood very still. He was still trying to think about what exactly he was looking at. Was this a kid? Why is he naked? Why are his eyes completely black? And then that little boy picked up his hand and went like this to the grandfather for him to get closer to him. Bitch, I would start rolling down that hill again and not stop myself. The grandfather was not about to get close to him, so he decided to ignore his little, like, come close to me. And that was also in the moment where that little kid, in a really raspy, deep voice, tells him,
Nope. Nope. Hell no. Turn the opposite direction. Do not get close.
come closer. In that moment, the grandfather was like, hell no, I am not getting close to this thing. He decided to start running down that path that he had just came up from, and even the goats were running with him. The grandfather says that he did not have the courage to even look back and see if that little boy was chasing him until he got to the house. Obviously, when he got home, he was agitated, he couldn't breathe, he had just ran all the way there, and he also was not about to tell his family because they weren't going to believe him. So he just decided to, like, lay on the ground underneath a tree and just get his breath back. So as he's laying there trying to catch his breath, trying to have a reason as to what just happened, he said he couldn't. He thought that maybe he was having like a heart attack. He had no idea what was going on. He decided to turn and look at that path just to make sure that little boy was not coming down, and unfortunately that little boy was standing there. He explains how it was too much for him, and when he saw that little kid, he just fainted. When he finally wakes up, he's in his bed and his mom is next to him asking him what happened. The grandfather did tell the mom what happened, and just as he suspected, they did not believe him. The grandfather explains what happened to him was very, very real, and he believes that he bumped into the devil as a lesson because he was misbehaving, he was doing a lot of bad things. He thinks that it was a lesson to tell him, hey, if you continue to do this, I'm gonna take you with me. Honestly, we've heard of black-eyed kids, right? I've never heard of any in Mexico, but also all the stories that we've heard, they're definitely dressed. So why was that little boy naked? Was it a black-eyed kid, or was it something like completely different? But also, why were the goats scared of it? The goats were definitely scared of whatever that was. Anyway,
I don't think they're restricted to just one general area. Do you? Let me know in the comments what y'all think.
those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think?
We started investigating cases of the black-eyed people here in central Illinois, and for a short period of time, there were several sightings from witnesses who didn't know one another. They had never communicated, yet they all had seen the same exact thing. Now, one of the cases that was very compelling to me, there was an older woman who lived in Metamora, and she said she was in her house one night. She couldn't sleep, and it was about 11:30. She hears a knock at the door. And she's like, who could be at the door, 11:30 at night? She goes to the door and she looks out her window and she sees what looks like 3 teenagers. So she opens the front door, but she has the screen door locked. And she said there was like one taller one that was in front, and then there were 2 other teenagers that were behind this one. And she said they almost sounded robotic. And they were like, can we come in and use your phone? And she's like, it's 11:30 at night. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to let you use my phone. And they go, no, let us come in and use your phone. And she insisted, like, I told you, I'm not going to let you use my phone. It's 11:30 at night. I don't know who you are. You're going to have to go somewhere else. And they said, look, you don't understand. You have to let us inside. And she's like, I don't have to do anything. Like, you need to leave right now. We're going to call the police. So she slammed the door shut on him. And she goes over to the window, looks out on the porch to see where they go, except she can't see them anymore. They, like, disappeared. She said about 20 minutes later, she hears a knock at the back door. And then she starts hearing knocking on all the windows. And she said, like, all night long, whatever this was kind of like harassing her by knocking on the windows and the doors. And the next day, they were gone. She went outside. She asked the neighbors. They didn't see anybody. And she said, still to this day, she has no idea what it was or who they were that came to her door that night.
Imagine this. You're home alone. It's late at night. And suddenly, there's a knock at the door. When you peek outside, you don't see anybody you know. There's a boy and a girl. You've never seen them before. Their heads.
I imagine that was the black-eyed kids. And I wouldn't have opened the door to start with at 11:30 at night. Would y'all? I don't understand these people. I mean, I understand it's children and everything, and people, their natural instinct is to help a child, but you need to listen to your gut. God gives you instincts for a reason, so, you need to follow them.
They're down, their voices are soft, and they ask if they can come inside. Something feels wrong immediately. Their skin looks pale. They just don't seem human. Their movements are way too off. And when they finally lift their heads, their eyes are completely black. These are the black-eyed kids, one of the most disturbing urban legends of modern day era. Reports of them go back to the 1990s, but a lot of people believe they go back way longer than that. One of the most famous encounters comes from a man in Texas. He was stopped in a parking lot when two boys approached his vehicle. They asked him for a ride. They said that they couldn't get into his car unless he gave him permission to get in the car. And he was thinking, there's something fucking off about you kids. He just had a feeling that there was something really fucking wrong about these kids. Something in their voices and their strange words and robotic movements made his blood run cold. When he looked closer, he saw their jet black eyes glaring back at him. At this point, he put his car in reverse and skirted the fuck out of there. I'd do the same. That is terrifying. Witnesses claim that these children appear at night at their door, rapping and tapping at their door, and they always ask for permission to enter. Either ask to get in your car or they ask to come into your house. Those who refuse these kids say they feel overwhelming terror, like they are in danger, like the kids are not human at all. No kids have black fucking eyes. Those things are not fucking human, you guys. Do not answer your door.
Because they have to have permission. Any kind of demonic entity has to have permission to enter. They can't enter without the permission. So never, ever invite anything in.
If there's some black-eyed motherfuckers coming into your fucking yard, don't answer the door. Black eyes, no. The theories range from demons to aliens. There are so many theories out there, and so many sightings so many people have seen these black-eyed kids. It's really creepy because they're black-eyed kids, you guys. They are children. That just makes it even more creepier to me. Like, not like the Men in Black. That's another story. Nobody can explain why there are so many people seeing the same exact thing. So if you hear a knock at your door at night, late at night, and there's children at your door, look a little bit closer and make sure you never let them in. I have heard some horror stories about people that have let these children inside their houses. Like, bad things happen. You have bad luck. You end up dying a horrible death, or worse. I mean, terrible. Your family. Something bad happens to them. Terrifying, you guys. Let me know if you've ever heard of these black-eyed children before.
The devil have to find ways to, new ways to, get people to, enter in, shall we say, or new ways in. And so using children, everybody feels children are safe. That's just my personal opinion on it. Y'all tell me what you think down below.
Y'all want to hear a story? And this story is going to take us to Abilene, Texas, the location of the first U.S. encounter with entities known as the Black-Eyed Children. And they are creepy. The Black-Eyed Children, or Black-Eyed Kids, are what looks like little kids with completely blacked out eyes, like this dude right here. Like, no pupil, no iris, no whites of the...
There we go again with that Texas reference. I'm beginning to believe that Texas is just full of these things.
Eyes just blacked out. Encounters with these black-eyed children have been reported all over the world. But the first documented encounter here in the U.S. was in 1996, when a man named Brian Bethel encountered two kids. And he claimed he had pulled over near the Westwood Theater. He was sitting there writing a check out of his checkbook when he heard a knock at his driver's side window. He looked up and seen two kids standing there, which appeared to be about the ages of 9 and 13. Both boys, both wearing hoodies, and they had their hoods kind of, pulled up to obscure their faces a little bit. And they asked if he would give them a ride to their mother's house because they wanted to get money to see a movie.
But that's when he noticed their eyes, completely blacked out, no whites to be seen. It said he got a very sick and eerie feeling. And as if sensing his fear, these boys started to get more aggressive. The older one started pounding on his window, saying, "We can't come in your car until you invite us in. Let us in." Well, at this point, this man was over it. He threw his car in reverse and got out of there with the boys still yelling, "Let us in," behind him as he drove away. Some people claim that this actually isn't the first encounter with black-eyed children, it's just the first documented one. And that some people had a few encounters in the 80s, but it just didn't get recorded. But after this encounter, there was a massive uptick in the number of sightings seen in the United States. In 2012, he appeared on the TV show Monsters and Mysteries in America and told the story too. And following that, many more people came forward with their encounters. This is apparently also a very common phenomenon in the UK. And in September of 2014, a British tabloid ran a story about a shocking rise in sightings in England and all over the world. It said these kids usually appear in twos and generally appear to be between the ages of 6 and 16. They have pale skin and blacked out eyes. And these kids, whenever they appear, usually start with a request. A ride home if you're in a vehicle, or to come in and use your phone to call their parents if you're in your house. And they usually start out asking pretty polite. But if you were to say no, some of them will begin to plead and beg, but others will get angry and demand to be let in. It said if you encounter one, they seem to have a strange power over you, as if they can exert some kind of subtle influence on the mind. Because despite an immediate reaction of fear and dread, which is always reported, you'll catch yourself like reaching for your car door or widening your door without realizing that you're doing it. And most people that encounter these kids don't let them in the house or their car. But one snowy night in January of 2016 in Vermont, one couple did. This couple said that a boy and a girl knocked on their front door, and they asked to come inside, saying that their parents would be there to pick them up soon. The woman immediately felt bad for these kids because it was freezing cold and snowing outside, so she let them in. They then sat on the couch, and her husband tried to speak to them and ask them questions, and they wouldn't really meet his eyes. Well, then one of them asked if they could use the restroom. And the woman was like, "Yes, it's over there." And that's when she seen their eyes as they were walking away. Well, she turned to her husband and was like, "Did you see their eyes?" And he had his hand up to his face. He pulled his hand away and it's just blood everywhere, where he got this sudden, terrible nosebleed. And right at that very moment, the power went out and the kids reappeared and said, "Our parents are here." The kids walked out the door, leaving it hanging open. And the woman said that she's seen two very tall, very slender men standing at the end of the driveway waiting. So she kind of waved at them, and they did not wave back, and they all piled in one car and drove away. Shortly after they left, the power came back on. Over the next week, several strange things kept happening to them. The couple had 4 cats. 3 of them went missing, and one of them was found deceased in a pool of blood. And the husband kept having these reoccurring nosebleeds. So he went to the doctor and was diagnosed with a rare aggressive skin cancer. And by the end of that week, the woman started experiencing the same nosebleeds. And she stated that she fully believes that her and her husband's failing health was due to letting the black-eyed children inside her home. But what are these black-eyed children? Some have called them children of the devil. Some people think they're demons. Some people think they're aliens. Others say they're vampires, but no one really knows for sure. Only thing that's fully known is that if 2 of these kids ever come knocking on your front door wanting in your house.
Most definitely it was. That's the common factor in all this, is anybody that has actually let them in, like I said, their life turns, their health goes down, their their finances go to shit, their relationships go to shit. It's just, it's a bad idea. Don't let them in.
House, don't let them in. Have any of y'all ever had an encounter with the black-eyed children? Let me know.
I've debated for years whether to share this. I don't tell it at parties. I don't bring it up casually. Most of the time, I try not to think about it at all. But every once in a while, usually at night, I can hear the knockings. Then I realized they didn't just want to come inside my house. They wanted me. This happened about 8 years ago. I was living alone in a small rental on the edge of town. One of those quiet neighborhoods where nothing really ever happened. No street lights close together, long driveways, lots of trees. Peaceful. Too peaceful. I worked a late shift back then, so it was normal for me to be up past midnight. That night I remember as if it was yesterday. I had just gotten home from work around 1:30 a.m. It was raining lightly, not pouring, just enough to make everything outside shine and blur. I made some tea, sat on the couch, and turned on some mindless TV. That's when I heard the knocks. 3 slow knocks. Not aggressive, not urgent, almost polite. I froze. Nobody knocks this late. Nobody normal. I muted the TV and listened. Nothing. Then another knock. Same rhythm, same calm pace. I walked to the front windows. I didn't open the blinds. I just peeked through the cracks. At first, I didn't see anyone. My porch light only reached so far, and the rain made the shadows move weirdly. Then that's when I saw them step forward. 2 children, a boy and a girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. They were standing perfectly still. No umbrella, no hoodies, just standing in the rain like they didn't feel it. Something about that alone made my stomach drop. I cracked the door open just enough to speak through it. "Can I help you?" The girl looked up first. She smiled, but it didn't reach her face. "Ma'am," she said softly, "we need to come inside." Her voice was wrong. Not childish, not scared, flat, controlled. I asked them where their parents were. The boy answered this time. "They're close," he said. "Please, it's cold." That's when I noticed their eyes. At first, I thought it was just the shadows from the porch light. But the girl tilted her head slightly and I saw it clearly. Her eyes were completely black. No whites, no reflections, just endless matte black. My breath caught in my throat. I stepped back instinctively, and the door opened a little wider by accident. The boy's smile grew. "Please," he said again, "you have to let us in." And here's the part that still haunts me. Every instant in my body was screaming, "Don't." Not fear exactly, something deeper. Like my body recognized them as a threat my mind didn't yet understand. I told them I couldn't help them and that I was going to call the police. The moment I said that, the girl's smile vanished. Her face went completely blank. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. The boy took one step closer to the door. "Let us in," he said again, but this time, his voice was lower, older, wrong. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Immediately, the knocking started again. Not polite this time, fast, hard, bang, 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 then scratching, like fingernails dragging slowly down the wood. I backed away, my heart pounding so hard I thought I was going to pass out. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaky hands. While the phone rang, the knocking stopped. Dead silence. I waited. Then I heard the girl's voice again, this time right outside the door. "Why are you hiding?" she asked slowly. "We just wanted to come inside." The dispatcher finally answered. I tried to explain everything through tears. 2 children, something's wrong with their eyes, refusing to leave. She asked me to stay on the line, and then the boy laughed. A low, humorless sound. "You shouldn't have done that," he said. I heard footsteps, now walking away, circling the house. Slow, deliberate, every window, every wall, like they were looking for another way in. The dispatcher told me the officers were on their way. She kept asking me questions, grounding me, keeping me talking. Then suddenly, everything stopped. No footsteps, no voices, no rain sounds near the porch, just silent. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched the entire area. No kids, no footprints in the mud, no fingerprints on the door. Nothing. The officer asked maybe if it was a prank. I didn't argue. I moved out 2 weeks later. Here's why I'm writing this now. Last night I visited my sister. She lives about 3 hours away. Different town, different house. I stayed late, left around midnight.
Of course not. They can come and go as they please. Of course the police didn't find them.
As I backed out of the driveway, my headlights swept across the sidewalk, and for just a second, I saw 2 small figures standing under the streetlights, still watching. And when the girl lifted her head, I saw her eyes, black as nothing. I drove away so fast I ran a stop sign. I don't know what they are, I don't know why they need permission, but I do know one thing for sure. They don't stop looking for you. And once they find you, they remember where you live.
The urban legend of the black-eyed children arose in the late 1990s, with stories circulating on the internet about strange children with solid black eyes knocking on doors asking to be let inside. Witnesses consistently describe them as having eyes that are fully black, with no sclera or iris visible. The children, often described as around 10 to 16 years old, typically come in pairs or groups of 3. They ask for help or to be let inside to use a phone or bathroom. Those who have encountered them report an intense feeling of dread and panic, even though the children do not overtly threaten or become violent. The children continue pleading to be let inside, but people overwhelmingly feel an instinctual urge to not let them in. In some accounts, the black-eyed children suddenly vanish when the door is shut on them. While they display no signs of being dangerous themselves, they invoke a deep sense of terror in those who see them. There are very few documented cases where someone allowed them inside, and the consequences in those cases are unknown. So, would you let them in?
Let's talk about the black-eyed children. According to legend, black-eyed children usually come to your house at night. They'll come to your vehicle if you're alone in a parking lot, or places where there aren't many people.
If you guys see this video, take a look at how nice.
It disappears as soon as she pans the camera back. They usually tell you that they need help with something, or maybe that they're lost, but the main thing is they want to be let in to wherever you are. They'll try and say anything to get inside, and if you tell them no, they'll start to get a little aggressive, being persistent, saying things like, "You must let me in, I need to be let in." They'll become extremely desperate, and if you decide to let them in, wait, before I continue, your third act comes to your door with black eyes. Let me know who it is, and would you let them in? You see, black-eyed children are dark entities, and just like vampires, they're not allowed in without permission. If you let them in, they will do unspeakable things.
Well, that's all I've got for the day, folks. And if you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure you like, follow, and share with your friends, your neighbors, you know, your acquaintances down the road. Let me know in the comments what you think about these black-eyed kids. Has anybody ever experienced that? I mean, I need to know. And if you want, if you want me to cover something else along this line, let me know in the comments, and we might do it on the next video. Thank you. Take care.